Hello guys, it's Code, and today we're going to be talking about what is Docker and why you want to use Docker in your coding environment, um, and why someone might want to think about using Docker, right? So let's discuss this. So there are three reasons that I can think of off the top of my head, and those reasons why Docker is awesome. So first reason is that usually um, uh, there's multiple servers you want to run on the same machine, right? For that, orthodoxly, you would set some RAM, set some storage and bandwidth for each single virtual machine, and that's kind of tedious work. And when that server is not in use, then you still don't have the other second virtual machine doesn't have access to the first virtual machine, and so there's a lot of work involved in maybe sharing RAM, or like deleting the for server one because it's not in use, or whatever you want to do with it. And so for that reason, why we use Docker images and containers. So you can, so Docker essentially takes care of, whatever environment or runtime you want to run your code in, and however much RAM you specify it needs, and the bandwidth, etc. Second reason why you want to use Docker is originally when you would set up a server on a virtual machine. There's a lot of abstractions involved, a lot of configurations needed done. Now, let's say you want to switch the locations of that server to another virtual machine, or maybe to a different cloud, right? So then all that hard work that was put into setting up your server, the configuration and instructions, now are wasted. So the best thing to do in that case is to set up a Docker image. A Docker image is just essentially a set of instructions that you your coding environment needs to run in order to run your app, right? And so, and basically, you can copy that Docker set of instructions. In other words, they call it a Docker image, and you can copy it onto another machine just by copying that file to another machine, and you can easily get going, right? So, and then the third reason why you might want to use Docker is, again, say in the local development environment, you wanna use your repository on a different machine. Let's say if maybe your old laptop you want to put away, and you want to move to another machine, then you have to set up your workspace again. And sometimes it could take, a couple minutes to maybe like half an hour, depending on how complex your environment is, right? So that time spent there could be saved for the future, right? So by essentially putting all those instructions for setting up your coding environment in a Docker image, and then all you have to do is just basically run that Docker image inside a container, and that's it. Like you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about configuring the application for a certain OS, certain environment. The main reason uh, for this video is to show you how you can use Docker in development environment with your Node.js app, right? So here in this screen, you can see this is a very basic Node.js app, right? With addition to it is an Express middleware that's being used to create a simple route, essentially. And here we are listening to uh, here we're setting up the server, right? Okay, so originally, right, you would let me delete these node modules. So originally, if you wanted to run uh, your app locally, how would you do it, right? So let's go into package.json and you will see that we have a script right here, uh, start script, right? So what you could do is type here node, npm start, right? And so it's giving me errors, right? Why? So the reason is because you don't have the node modules installed or the dependencies installed in order to run your app, right? And but sometimes it's not as easy to install those dependencies, right? Sometimes it's very tedious, and for that reason, uh, for that reason, I don't want to worry about, installing node modules on my own, right? I want the I want the tool that takes care of that essentially, right? So for that, what I have done is created a Docker image and Docker scripts, Node.js package.json scripts, which will allow me to, test my Node app in a Docker environment. So I'll let's elaborate on the steps that are involved, right? First, you want to create a Docker image, sorry. And here I have named it dev underscore image dot Dockerfile. And here it is. Here are the set of instructions, right? So continuing on how to set up our Docker image. So let me just make this bigger so it's more readable. Um, so first you want to specify what runtime you want to run your Node application in. Um, so here it's specified it's Node. Node is our base image or runtime which our application is going to lie on. It's like, I believe it's like a lightweight Linux image on top of which has like Node dependencies installed, or that's how it's formulated, the base image. And we're specifying which version of Node we want to use. This is very important, right? Sometimes your application have dependencies which run on a specific version of Node, right? So now imagine a new developer wants to use your code, right? Maybe you want to pass your project to the new developer and they don't have any idea which Node version it's using, right? And sometimes when your same app can be using different Node versions, right? And then you still want to specify all that, right? Anyways, so here we're specifying the working directory on the container, not on our local machine, but in the container, which is ran in a Docker orchestration. And then we want to copy the package.json file from our local machine to this container, right? The reason why we want to do that first and not copy the entire app right away is because it's just copying modules. Node modules are already like, huge, right? Like it could be 1 GB to like 2 GB or even longer. So let's elaborate on the instructions that are going to be used in order to run our app locally, right? So first, we want to specify what node version or what base image our application is going to run on. This is just a basic Linux image. On top, it has uh, node configurations already configured in the image, and so we don't have to worry about it. And we just specify node image, node 14 version, right? Um, And then this is the working directory that we're gonna copy all the development instructions into on the container. And so first you want to copy the application, copy the package.json to app. Package.json is where all our dependencies are specified. And once you've done that, you run install all the modules on that container. And then finally, you want to copy the rest of the folder files into the container, right? And and here I specify don't copy over node modules to the Docker container. Basically, node modules are very big. They could be anywhere from 1 GB to however long, however big your node module folder is, and it could take time, right? So you don't wanna bother yourself with that. So once you have done that, right, then you wanna you wanna create a Docker hyphen compose.yml YAML file. What this file is essentially a file which is used to create the container, right? This image file is just set of instructions that you want to use to bootstrap your project, right? But this Docker compose file is essentially specifying how you want to configure the Docker container, right? So, and here we are specifying the API-dev service. It's essentially, you can name it whatever you want to. I just named it API-dev because this is our dev service. And you can have other services here. For example, if you wanted to create maybe like run a local Mongo service or local Redis service, you can all specify all that here. The reason why you want to do that is you just want to specify what's going to be inside the container, right? And what's going to be connected together, right? Okay, so here I specified how to build my application. I specified use this a set of instructions from Dockerfile um, to bootstrap a project. And you have to specify what port number you want to use. This is because it's a web application which is being run on container, which is not our local machine, right? It could be on a remote service or it could be another machine on its own, right? So we're saying that the 5,000 port you want to use, so this is your local port, I believe, and this is the port of on the container, right? So we're just binding those ports together, and then volumes. The reason why we want to use volumes is because, for example, uh, if you make a change to your code, right? Nodeman, Nodeman is the service that we're using to, auto reload our application. Um, and so what happens is that when you bind your source folder with the container source folder, what happens is when a change is made on the local machine, it will be reflected on the container as well, right? And then finally, how should your app run, right? So we issue a command, npm run dev, right, which is specified here, nodeman main, which is referring to this source index file, which is here, right, which is a simple Express app. I'm sure you know how to set up Express app, so I didn't uh, mention it. Okay, so and then finally in package.json, here I have made some, you know, scripts, right, to help ease your so you don't have to write those you don't have to come up with the instructions on your own. And I'll also leave a link to this GitHub repository down below in the description. Okay, so this is the main local environment script, right? And this is the script that we use to close down the container, shut down the container. And this is the script to essentially run, uh, build our container using this Docker hyphen compose.yml file. And this is just a script that I made to essentially um, run the Docker container. And then here I just specify also view the logs of the container as well, right? Okay, and that's it, right? So let's start our service here. So what we're going to do is first go into our folder. Okay, so what you want to do here is you want to run this script, yarn docker dev. Oh, sorry, it's not yarn. It's docker dev, right? So let's see, right? And so here, as you can see, it's building the image um, using all the instructions and creating an environment for you. And here you go. That was super quick, right? It created a nodemon application, and it's already running on port 5000. So let's see. So you want to do for boom, API is alive, right? So now if you wanted to change something in here, let's say API change maybe, and then oops. So like now when you press save, right, you will see that it rebuilt this thing, rebuild the application. And then when you click on refresh and boom, API has changed, right? So as easy as that. And this is how you have set your Docker environment. And let's exit out of this and boom, it's done, right? Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention is that you have to make sure that your Docker daemon is running in the background. Otherwise, this application, this won't work, right? The script that I have written, right? And again, lastly, as I mentioned before, this um, this repo will be linked down below, so you can use it as a reference. All right. Have a great day. Bye.